Why is it that the people we hold closest are often the ones who see us the least? Have you ever looked into the eyes of someone you love and realized you were staring at a ghost, not because they weren't there, but because they had stopped seeing you as a person and started seeing you as a permanent fixture, like a piece of furniture they no longer notice? It is a cold, hollow feeling to realize that your kindness has become their expectation and your presence has become their right. You gave everything. You stayed when things were hard. You answered every text, mended every wound, and sacrificed your own peace just to keep theirs intact. And yet, the more you gave, the less you were worth in their eyes. But what if the very thing that made you invisible is the key to becoming unforgettable? Most people will tell you to shout louder, to fight for attention, or to play games of jealousy. They are wrong. Those are the actions of a person who is starving for crumbs. Stoicism teaches us a different way, a way that doesn't involve begging or chasing. It is the art of becoming a mountain. A mountain does not ask the climber to notice it. It simply stands, rooted in its own truth, and the climber has no choice but to acknowledge its magnitude. If you are tired of being the one who cares more, the one who tries harder, and the one who always loses, then it is time to stop playing their game and start defining your own. We aren't here to talk about revenge. Revenge is an admission that they still have power over your emotions. We are here to talk about a shift in your internal architecture that makes the person who took you for granted feel the sudden, terrifying chill of your absence. They grew comfortable because you were predictable. They neglected you because they believed your devotion was an infinite resource. Now we are going to change the laws of their universe. Consider the weight of a single moment of absolute silence. Most of us are terrified of the quiet. We fill it with apologies, with explanations, and with frantic attempts to stay relevant. But there is a specific type of silence that carries a heavy, undeniable authority. It is the silence of a man or woman who has realized that their words are too valuable to be wasted on someone who isn't listening. When you stop the noise, you create a vacuum, and the human mind cannot tolerate a vacuum. It will rush to fill it with questions. Why aren't they calling? Why aren't they angry? Where did that warmth go? By doing nothing, you are doing everything. You are forcing them to confront the reality of a world where you are no longer a guaranteed safety net. This isn't about being mean, it's about being enough for yourself. Think about the sun. It doesn't ask for permission to shine. It doesn't check to see if you appreciate the light before it rises. It simply is. And because it is constant and powerful, we organize our entire lives around its presence. You have been acting like a moon, merely reflecting the light of someone else's moods and desires. It is time to reclaim your own center of gravity. We often fear that if we stop chasing, the other person will simply walk away forever. And here is the hard truth. They might. But if someone only stays because you are chasing them, they were never really there to begin with. You were just holding on to a shadow. Stoicism asks us to focus only on what we can control, our own actions, our own character, and our own dignity. You cannot control whether they value you, but you can absolutely control whether you are a person who deserves to be valued. When you shift your gaze from them and turn it back toward your own soul, something miraculous happens. The energy in the room changes. The person who ignored you starts to sense a shift in the air. They see you moving with a new purpose. They see you investing in your body, your mind, and your future. They see a version of you that doesn't need them. And nothing, absolutely nothing, is more magnetic than a person who is genuinely content in their own skin. You have spent so long trying to be the right person for them that you forgot how to be the right person for yourself. You have allowed your self-worth to be a variable that they decide. Today, we make that value a constant. We are going to explore the psychological triggers that occur when a person who was once too much suddenly becomes just right by pulling back.
Are you prepared to let go of the version of yourself that begs for love? Are you ready to witness the moment their indifference turns into desperation as they realize the prize they once held is slipping through their fingers? The journey to being unforgettable doesn't start with a message sent to them. It starts with a vow made to yourself. It starts with the understanding that your presence is a privilege, and if they cannot treat it as such, they no longer get to experience it. I have seen the most arrogant hearts break simply because they realized too late that the person they ignored was the only person who truly saw them. But by then, that person had moved so far into their own light that the shadow of the past could no longer reach them. If you are ready to find that light, we must begin with the first transition. We must talk about the power of the void. What would happen if you truly, deeply stopped caring what they thought of you right now?
The moment you stop seeking a reaction is the moment you gain ultimate power over the dynamic. We often think that to be important, we must be loud, but the most profound shift happens in the quiet spaces you create. This is where you implement the art of the strategic withdrawal. Most people are used to a world of constant feedback. If they push you, you push back. If they pull away, you chase. This predictability is exactly why they stopped valuing you. You became a known quantity, a puzzle they had already solved. When you suddenly stop the cycle, you break the internal map they have of you. By withdrawing your energy, not in anger, but in calm indifference, you force them to sit with the silence you've left behind. And in that silence, their mind will begin to play back every moment they overlooked you. They will start to feel the coldness of the space where your warmth used to be. This leads us to the concept of emotional sovereignty. Stoicism reminds us that we are the gatekeepers of our own peace. If someone treats you with a lack of respect, your natural instinct is to explain why they are wrong, to plead for them to see your worth. But explaining your value is like explaining a joke. If you have to do it, it's already failed. The person who truly knows their worth doesn't negotiate it. They simply stop offering it to those who don't recognize it. You must become comfortable with the idea of being misunderstood. Let them think what they want. Let them wonder why you've gone quiet. Let them assume you've moved on. The more you try to fix their perception of you, the more power you give them. When you stop providing the map to your soul, they realize they are lost without you. Think about the way we value resources. We don't treasure the air until we are underwater. You have been the air for them, necessary, constant, and entirely ignored. By practicing controlled absence, you are essentially bringing them to the surface. You are allowing them to feel what it's like to breathe without your support. This isn't about manipulation. It is about restoring the natural balance of respect. When you focus on your own growth, real, internal growth, you radiate a different frequency. People can sense when you are doing something for show and when you are doing something for self. If you go to the gym or read a book just to make them jealous, you are still tethered to them. You are still their prisoner. But when you do these things because you genuinely want to be a better version of yourself, you become a mystery. You become someone new. And the human heart is biologically wired to be obsessed with the new and the unattainable. The person who ignored you will eventually reach out. It might be a subtle text, a like on a photo, or a casual question. Most men and women fail at this exact moment. They get the breadcrumb and they rush to eat it, showing the other person that they were just waiting in the wings all along. But the person of depth, the one who has embraced the Stoic path, does not rush. You respond with a polite, detached kindness that is more devastating than any insult. You show them that while you are not angry, you are also no longer theirs. You treat them like a distant acquaintance rather than the center of your universe. In that moment, the fear of loss becomes a physical weight in their chest. They realize that the door they thought would always be open has been quietly, firmly closed. They start to realize that while they were busy looking for something better, they lost the only thing that was real. Do you have the discipline to stay in the shadows until you are strong enough to stand in your own light? If you could see yourself through the eyes of someone who truly respected you, would you still be standing here waiting for a sign from someone who doesn't?
The final shift happens when you realize that your purpose is not a person, but a legacy. Most people live their lives in a state of reaction. They react to who loves them, who leaves them, and who ignores them. But the person who has reached the pinnacle of self-mastery moves from a state of reaction to a state of action. You stop being the moon that reflects the light of others, and you become the sun, the source of your own energy. When you anchor your life in a mission that is greater than your own comfort, your entire presence changes. You develop an edge, a sharpness of character that is impossible to ignore. A man or woman who is deeply committed to their craft, their physical health, and their mental clarity possesses a gravity that pulls others toward them. The person who once neglected you will see this change. They will see that you are no longer drifting in their wake, but sailing toward a horizon they can barely see. This is the ultimate paradox. The more you care about your own life, the more others will care about it too. When you stop asking for permission to exist, you become a person of weight. You must understand that respect is not something you can demand. It is something you command through the way you occupy space. If you act like a person who can be easily replaced, the world will treat you as replaceable. But when you act like a person who is on an irreversible path toward greatness, the world treats you as an event. There is a specific moment in every relationship where the power dynamic is settled forever. It is the moment you show that you are truly willing to walk away and never look back. Not as a threat, not as a bluff, but as a deep, soul-level commitment to your own peace. When you reach this state, you don't need to use attitudes or strategies. Your boundaries are written in your posture. Your self-worth is spoken in your silence. The person who treated you as an option will suddenly realize they have lost the only person who offered them something genuine. They will see you thriving, not because of them, and not in spite of them, but entirely independent of them. That realization is the most powerful regret they can feel. They will realize that while they were playing games with your heart, you were building a kingdom, and now they are no longer invited inside the gates. Stoicism teaches us that the highest good is to live in accordance with our own nature. Your nature is not to be a servant to someone else's ego. Your nature is to grow, to learn, and to be free. The desperation they feel when they try to chase you back is simply the sound of them realizing that they missed the chance to be part of something magnificent. But by the time they realize this, you will likely find that you no longer need their realization. You will have found a version of yourself that is so whole, so balanced, and so strong that the opinion of someone who once failed to see your value feels like a distant memory from a life you no longer lead. You have become the mountain, and the mountain does not move for the wind. If you were to look back at the person you were before this journey started, what would you say to the version of you that was still waiting for a text back? What would you say to the person who thought their value depended on the eyes of someone who chose to look away?